Have you ever wondered if true wisdom hides not in bold speech, but in silent observation? Beneath the surface of silence lies a powerful method the Stoics used to master emotions, conquer fear, and unlock inner strength. In this video, you'll discover the secrets to becoming emotionally undefeatable by listening and observing more deeply than ever before. How listening deeply makes you wiser. Stoic Observation Power, compiled and published by Stoic Power. Lesson 1. Silence builds inner strength. Picture a fortress standing alone beneath a wild, storm-filled sky, its walls unshaken by the fury of the world. In this fortress, silence is not emptiness, but power, a reservoir of strength, collected drop by drop in moments few ever truly experience. Like the Stoic archer who draws back his bowstring and waits patiently, sensing the rhythm of his own heartbeat and the slightest breeze, the practice of cultivating silence becomes a strategic act of self-mastery. It is the quiet within that prepares us to meet any challenge with unbreakable resolve. Just as the unspoken calm before a battle often signals the presence of true warriors. This image may seem dramatic, yet for anyone who has ever struggled to manage their emotions in the heat of conflict, the necessity of silence is not an abstract idea. It is a very real test that emerges in daily life. Every person at some point collides with the dizzying unpredictability of emotions. Perhaps you've been caught in the middle of a heated argument, words bittersweet on your tongue, your heartbeat racing as frustration and anger crash like waves on the rocky shore of your self-control. Or maybe you've lain awake at night, haunted by anxious thoughts that seem to multiply the harder you try to silence them. In moments like these, our instinct is often to speak, explain, defend, or lash out, believing that words or outward action will resolve the internal tension. But what so often happens instead is that we become entangled, like a fly in a web of our own making, further from peace and no closer to a solution. This is the silent suffering so many endure while facing their own tempests, feeling powerless to master the emotional storms that rise within. The pain is universal, the sense of being overpowered by emotions, of losing control when it matters most, of regretting what was said or done in haste. We long for a way to regain command, to be not a slave to our passions, but the master of our responses. But where do we start when the world around us seems so loud and insistent, our minds so easily overwhelmed by noise? Too often, strength is confused with forcefulness, and silence with weakness. Few recognize that silence is neither retreat nor surrender. It is, as the Stoics understood, a disciplined choice, a courageous stand. Now, here lies the transformative solution. Learn to seek out moments of intentional silence in your day, especially when you feel the pull of emotion strongest. In that quiet pause, you grant yourself both a shield and a vantage point, just as an experienced sailor navigates by stopping to observe the faintest stars on a moonless sea. With each chosen moment of stillness, before a response, before a decision, you create space for clarity to surface and emotion to settle. This simple act of restraint is deeply powerful. Instead of reacting as the world expects, you hold your ground, listening not just to what is being said, but to what your mind is whispering beneath the turbulence. Through repeated practice, you transform silence from something passive and empty into a living force, a well of composure and insight that eventually forms the backbone of true resilience. As you make silence a companion, you begin to notice that your inner strength grows, not in opposition to emotion, but in partnership with it. Feelings still arise, but like choppy waters stilled beneath the moon's reflected light, they eventually clear without pulling you under or steering you off course. By choosing silence, you subtly shift the dynamic of every interaction, and more importantly, you shift the entire state of your mind. The ancient wisdom of Stoic philosophy does not ask you to suppress your emotions or pretend you are made of stone. Rather, it invites you to create a sanctuary within, where every feeling is acknowledged, then distilled through the calm of mindful observation. This simple but profound practice not only builds emotional control, but it makes you quietly magnetic, attracting respect, understanding, and presence from others. When you harness the active power of silence, you embody the paradox of being at once silent and undefeatable, revealing the discipline required to overcome your fears and unlock the latent fire within your spirit. Remember that silence is not something you endure like a punishment, but something you choose, as a Stoic chooses their path, deliberately, confidently, with full awareness that each quiet moment is forging the invisible armor you will wear in the heat of the world's battles. Over time, you will find that silence ceases to be a gap or a void, and instead becomes the solid ground upon which true emotional mastery stands firm. Begin each day by pausing for a moment of silence before you speak or react, especially when emotions run high. Practice this throughout your daily interactions, reflecting on the difference it makes over time. You'll discover increased calm and sharper control in every situation, growing more empowered, resilient, and attractive to others. Now prepare to unmask the real obstacle to true perception, your own ego. If you found value in this lesson, support the journey by subscribing, liking, sharing your thoughts in the comments, or suggesting what you want explored next. Lesson 2. Ego blocks clear perception. Imagine standing before a pristine lake at dawn, its glassy surface reflecting the landscape with perfect clarity. But when a single stone is thrown, ripples distort the image, breaking the silent vision into confusion and fragments. In our lives, the ego is that stone. It disturbs our perception, sends tremors across the surface of our thoughts and feelings, and clouds our ability to see situations as they truly are. What was once clear and peaceful becomes a whirlwind of self-concern, pride, and defensive reactions. No matter who you are, ego is a universal presence, often lurking beneath even our best intentions. At some stage, everyone faces the inner turmoil that springs from wounded pride or a bruised sense of self. Perhaps you hear criticism, and immediately your heart pounds with indignation as your mind scrambles to defend or justify. Or maybe someone else's success triggers an unsettling itch, jealousy, comparison, and the fear of your own inadequacy. In the heat of argument, have you ever felt your voice rising, sounding foreign even to yourself, because you could not accept being wrong? These are not rare moments. They are the secret battlegrounds we encounter whenever our ego takes the wheel. Emotional mastery and self-discipline start to fray not just from external pressure, but from this persistent internal force that demands to be seen, to be right, and to be praised. This is a source of suffering for many. When the ego asserts itself, clear perception is lost, and with it, our emotional control slackens. Too often we react out of pride, allowing ourselves to be swept away by the need to win an argument, to claim recognition, or to never appear vulnerable. Every blow to our self-image feels amplified, and we start navigating by shadows rather than stars. The pursuit of being undefeatable suddenly seems daunting, for how can we conquer the world when conflict rages within? How many times have you replayed a moment you wish you handled differently, realizing after the storm has passed that ego was steering your actions, not honest intention or courageous restraint? Here lies the transformative path. Recognize the ego not as an enemy to be destroyed, but as a signal, like a lighthouse's beam in the fog, alerting you to look closer at your own reactions. The gift of Stoic practice is not in pretending ego doesn't exist, but in training your mind to recognize its influence in real time. Whenever you sense the heat of defensiveness, or catch yourself attached too tightly to an opinion or outcome, pause, breathe deeply, and redirect your perspective. Approach every encounter as a humble student of life, rather than a judge seeking to score every exchange. Instead of fueling your need for validation or authority, cultivate an inner curiosity and willingness to be shaped by each experience. The core idea is this: dissolving ego is about seeing more and insisting less. To do so is to regain clear perception, reserving your emotional energy for what truly matters. It is like stepping back from the crowded marketplace of self-promotion and pride, finding a peaceful vantage point above the noise, where you can truly observe, listen, and learn. Over time, you'll find situations that once provoked outrage or embarrassment become opportunities to strengthen your composure and empathy. Your confidence will grow, not from the shallow approval of others, but from the deep, quiet well of self-knowledge and unshakable presence. When you bring gentle, honest awareness to the role ego plays in your daily life, you become the silent Stoic, content in mastery rather than show. Emotional triggers may still arise, but you will meet them as a seasoned captain faces the hidden rocks of a familiar bay, with patience, humility, and clear sight, always steering toward the greater freedom waiting beyond. When ego stirs, pause and ask yourself what you're truly defending. Practice humility daily by listening more and seeking deeper understanding, not just approval. Watch as your clarity, emotional balance, and resilience steadily grow. Continue reflecting today and prepare for Lesson 3, where observation becomes the key to finding hidden truths. Stay inspired and share your thoughts below. Lesson 3. Observation reveals hidden truths. Imagine you are standing quietly at the edge of a dense forest before dawn. A gentle wind barely stirs the leaves, and the darkness seems impenetrable. Then, as the sun begins to rise, shafts of golden light slip between the trees, slowly revealing details you could not have seen in the night. A fluttering bird here, the glint of dew on a spider's web there, a hidden path almost invisible, waiting just beneath the ferns. The forest hasn't changed. Your way of looking has. This slow reveal mirrors the transformative power of true observation, a skill that turns confusion into understanding and chaos into opportunity. Such clarity lies at the heart of emotional mastery, yet so often goes neglected in our fast-moving lives. Within most people is the ongoing struggle between reactivity and reflection. Maybe you found yourself jumping to conclusions about a colleague's tone or a friend's silence, convinced you know their intentions without any real evidence. Perhaps you try to solve problems based on assumptions, only to realize later you were operating in the dark. In these common moments, emotion blinds us like a sudden fog rolling in on a moonless sea. We want control, but our vision is partial, colored by fleeting feelings and unseen biases. When stakes are high, at work, in family disagreements, when interpreting the feelings of someone you love, this lack of true observation can breed misunderstanding, resentment, and missed chances for connection or growth. You might remember times when you regretted an accusation or action, realizing too late that you had overlooked something essential because your focus was trapped by anxiety or pride. This struggle carries real consequences. Lacking observation, we easily take things at face value and become prisoners of surface impressions. Misjudgments flourish, conflicts escalate, and opportunities pass unnoticed. Each day is filled with details and subtle truths, but the flood of emotions and distractions drowns out what is quietly calling for our attention. The result? Frustration with ourselves, repeated mistakes in how we relate to others, and the unsettling sense that we are always just missing something important. Here's the turning point. Begin cultivating the art of observation, searching for hidden truths beneath appearances. Instead of racing to explain what you see or feel, become as patient and attentive as that archer waiting calmly for their target to appear between swaying branches. The Stoics understood that sharp observation is the gateway to wisdom and unshakable calm. When you slow down, breathe, and watch without immediate judgment, you put distance between stimulus and response. This space grows rich with insight. Patterns emerge, motivations clarify, and new options reveal themselves. The core of this ancient skill is simple, yet transformative. When emotion surges, pause and ask, what have I not noticed? What is being said that goes unsaid? Is there another angle I haven't considered? Practice actively seeing and hearing, much as a seasoned sailor listens for shifts in the wind or feels for subtle changes in the water beneath their boat. In heated conversations, force yourself to observe not only words spoken, but tone, gesture, and silence. When a setback hits, instead of bemoaning fate, study every detail. The Stoic observer looks beyond the obvious, finding clues in the quiet and openings in apparent dead ends. Adopting this skill reclaims power over reaction, unlocking deeper layers of your environment, your relationships, and your own patterns of behavior. You gain emotional control not by denying feeling, but by understanding what truly drives it and which pieces of the story were missing before. Observation dissolves fear by shining light where confusion dwelled. Over time, this attitude becomes a quiet fire within you, steady, discerning, and impossible to shake, no matter how chaotic your circumstances may become. Start by pausing in challenging moments and ask yourself, what detail or truth might I be missing? Practice attentive listening and slow your judgments. You'll notice subtle patterns, reduce conflict, and gain real insight into yourself and others. Next, we'll explore how the art of stillness sharpens your emotional understanding. Comment, like, and subscribe to stay connected. Lesson 4. Stillness sharpens emotional insight. Picture a mountain lake before sunrise, the surface unbroken, so smooth it mirrors the world above without a ripple to distort the image. Beneath this glorious stillness, currents move quietly, unseen but powerful, holding the balance between silence and depth. It is from this deep place of stillness that the truest insights emerge, not from restlessness or reaction, but from a mind stilled and open. In our busy lives, littered with unanswered texts, relentless noise, and emotional interruptions, achieving this kind of inner quiet may feel as remote as a solitary peak. Yet it is within reach, and it holds the key to mastering your emotions rather than simply surviving them. Anyone on the journey toward emotional mastery encounters the struggle between action and pause, between the urge to do and the fear of missing out if you simply be. Have you ever rushed to reply to a tense message, only to regret your quick words moments later? Or maybe, in the middle of a heated argument, you felt emotions burning fast and wild, like embers on the wind, impossible to control and destined to scorch the ground before you. These moments are far from rare. We sense life's pressures and feel that we must respond immediately, defend ourselves, solve the issue, get ahead. Yet paradoxically, it is this urgent need to act that often causes understanding to slip from our grasp. The true pain is familiar. Reacting in anger when a pause might have revealed misunderstanding, revealing your deepest fears when a breath could have transformed your response, or making rapid choices only to suffer regret as clarity blooms too late. So many times, our fast reactions are not responses at all, but echoes of inner chaos, a nervous chase for certainty that leaves us feeling exhausted, misunderstood, and out of touch with ourselves. Ultimately, we find ourselves wondering why we cannot control our tempers or respond with the composure and wisdom we imagine a true master would reveal. Here, the Stoic path offers a surprising antidote. Embrace the discipline of stillness, even if just for a moment. Imagine for a second that you are not the tempest pushing the ship, but the calm waters beneath, supporting the vessel with unwavering steadiness. Rather than drowning in emotional noise, the Stoic learns to settle into stillness, letting the surface quiet so that the true colors of their feelings are reflected undistorted. Stillness is not empty. It is alive, awake, and tuned to the details beneath every wave of emotion. For the Stoic, it becomes the gateway between feeling and understanding, between sensation and wisdom. When you resolve to pause before any emotional response, to simply listen to the pounding of your own heart or the echo of your own breath, you invite remarkable clarity into your life. In this silence, the mind stops scrambling for the next word or defense, and instead gathers insight, piece by piece, much as a disciplined archer collects every clue from the air and earth before losing the arrow. Stillness savors each spark of emotion without being ignited by it, cultivating a presence that is both gentle and powerful, unreadable by those who expect quick flashes of anger or anxiety. By embracing even small moments of stillness, you unlock a new space between what happens to you and how you respond. It is here that emotional insight begins to grow. A crystal lattice in the deep, a steady flame in the dark. Over time, this habit changes everything about your internal landscape. Instead of feeling at the mercy of events and emotions, you train your mind to witness, sort, and truly understand what you feel before turning thought into action. Whenever strong emotions arise, pause, slow your breathing, and sit in quiet before responding. Notice your feelings without judgment and allow insight to surface. Over time, you'll find your responses calmer and your understanding sharper. Next, we'll learn how attention uncovers the patterns shaping your life. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts to keep our community growing. Lesson 5. Attention uncovers deeper patterns. Imagine an old watchmaker hunched over his desk, studying each tiny gear with a magnifying glass and the patience of a saint. It is only by delving into the intricate patterns, noticing the delicate etchings beneath the surface, that he can mend what is broken and bring back harmony to the movement. In life, our attention is that same magnifying lens. It determines whether we merely skim over the obvious or truly witness the hidden designs woven through our emotions, behaviors, and relationships. Yet most people move through their days with their attention scattered, pulled by notifications, urgent worries, and endless distractions, missing the rich patterns silently shaping their lives. Within all of us is a yearning to feel in command of our choices, to understand why we feel or act as we do. Still, recent days might have found you drifting through your mornings on autopilot, not quite hearing the words of the person in front of you, missing the emotional weather in your own heart. Maybe you've wondered why arguments with a certain person always follow the same script, or why anxiety blooms predictably in certain situations. Despite wanting to respond differently, the outcome repeats, and so does the feeling of being caught in cycles you don't fully understand. The frustration here is deep, the sense of invisibly stumbling over the same obstacles again and again, not knowing how to identify or break the pattern. Such challenges face almost everyone on the path to self-mastery and emotional control. You may feel powerless to prevent emotional triggers, resigned to familiar arguments, or even stuck in discouraging habits that seem inescapable. The surface-level explanations rarely feel satisfying. You're left thinking it's simply who you are, or that circumstances always trap you. Beneath these difficulties, a singular problem emerges: habitual inattention. When your mind is constantly elsewhere, daydreaming, replaying past regrets, anticipating the future, you miss the subtle clues and repetitions quietly telling the real story of why things unfold as they do. Here is where the transformative solution waits. Shift into a state of intentional attention, the kind the Stoics described not just as noticing, but truly perceiving. Instead of letting your surroundings pass you by, train your mind as an archer trains their eye, not only on the obvious target, but on everything that shapes its movement. Begin guiding your awareness gently toward the underlying energies at play within yourself and your environment. Intentional attention means noticing what emotions regularly arise around certain people or situations. What thoughts spark your fear or calm? What rhythms underlie your repetitive habits or reactions? This skill does not require relentless effort. It is about returning, again and again, like the practiced watchmaker, to these inner workings with curiosity and care. When you start noticing what you usually miss, patterns gradually reveal themselves. Perhaps you realize your sharp tongue emerges most often when you are tired, or that certain anxieties always appear ahead of stressful deadlines. The benefit of this attention is profound. You stop living at the surface, yanked by impulses you can't name. Instead, you unlock self-awareness and control, gaining the power to choose new responses, new outcomes, and ultimately a sense of freedom you may never have thought possible. Applying intentional attention will gently untangle the knots within. It is the process by which your inner world, which might have felt random and overwhelming, begins to make sense. Emotions become less frightening, habits less immutable. Over time, this approach transforms your sense of self. The disciplined awareness at the heart of the Stoic path is brought alive in daily experience, leading you to become magnetic, unflustered, and harder to shake, even when life appears chaotic all around you. Start today by watching moments when you feel a shift in emotion and writing them down. With each observation, you'll gain new clarity and gradually change old patterns. The more you observe, the more powerful your choices become. Up next is Reflection Transforms Passive Listening. Subscribe, like, and share your insights to help build our evolving wisdom community. Lesson 6. Reflection Transforms Passive Listening. Imagine standing on the shore of a quiet lake, tossing a single pebble into its still waters. The ripples that form move across the surface, expanding outward, returning eventually in gentle circles to your feet. Reflection in its truest form is just like these ripples, delicate waves that carry insight back to the center. It is not a mirror that merely shows us what is, but an active, ongoing process that transforms the nature of what we take in. Most people glide through conversations and daily experiences, much like stones skipping across a pond, barely touching the surface before moving hurriedly onward. This leaves understanding shallow and connection thin, as if our lives are lived in fast forward without ever pausing long enough to extract meaning or gain mastery over our emotions. At some point, you may have found yourself sitting through meetings or moments with friends. Your body present, but your mind wandering far away. Maybe you listen, but your focus slips through the net, leaving you grasping for details later, or realizing too late what someone was really trying to say. In arguments, perhaps you latch onto the loudest words or your own internal defenses, replaying them over and over as your real feelings remain unprocessed and unhealed. The conversations blur together, and despite your best intentions, you catch yourself repeating the same misunderstandings and dull reactions. This conflict between wanting meaning and feeling stuck in shallow exchanges is universal. The challenge then is not that we don't hear, but that we do not truly listen. And even when we manage that, we seldom reflect. The cost is subtle and accumulates over time. We mistake hearing for understanding, react to words without grasping context or emotion, and rush to solutions before uncovering what truly matters. The sense of being unaffected or on autopilot grows, leaving us separate both from others and ourselves, never unlocking the deeper lessons that lie hidden in each encounter. Without reflection, even the most promising advice or compassionate feedback washes off us like rain on glass, failing to penetrate or nourish real change. This is where the Stoic approach offers a vital turning point. Reflection transforms what would otherwise be passive listening into an act of personal power and emotional strengthening. Think of the disciplined Stoic as a seasoned ship's captain, charting the tides with patience each night after a long day. Reflection, for the Stoic, is a process honored as much as any victory, and it becomes a trusted friend on the path to mastery. Whenever a day ends or an important exchange closes, the Stoic takes intentional time to review what was heard, what was felt, how did responses unfold, and what truths lay beneath the surface waves. This quiet but potent exercise brings agency to experience, clarifying old patterns, emotional triggers, and the deeper stories hidden between the lines. The core of this skill is deceptively simple. After a thoughtful or emotionally charged day, even in the middle of ordinary events, pause and replay the important moments in your mind. Instead of being swept along by old habits or by rapid, reactive thoughts, slow everything down and observe. Consider what you overlooked while living it, what new angle emerges in hindsight, or how the thread of your reactions reveals a truth or lesson. Over time, this reflective process becomes light to see by, illuminating your journey, strengthening your understanding, deepening your confidence, and bridging the gap between mere hearing and profound, transformative listening. There is something quietly revolutionary about becoming the person who not only listens, but reflects, turning life into wisdom you carry forward, stronger with every experience, calmer with each self-aware insight, and more attractive to those seeking deeper, truer connection. Each evening, revisit your day's interactions. Ask yourself what you truly listened to and what you missed. Journal a key insight and identify a way to respond differently next time. This habit deepens wisdom, sharpens your emotional mastery, and cultivates calm. Next, we'll reveal how disciplined awareness grows wisdom. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts below. Lesson 7. Wisdom emerges from disciplined awareness. Imagine a lantern burning steadily in the darkness, its light unwavering despite the winds outside. Around this small flame, shadows shift and dissipate, and suddenly, the shapes that seemed menacing become familiar and knowable. This lantern is disciplined awareness, a quiet but unfailing vigilance that powers a Stoic's journey from confusion toward clarity. With every lesson before, you have learned the value of silence, stillness, observation, and reflection, each one a step closer to converting the raw material of daily life into the gold of wisdom. Yet, in the noise and uncertainty of everyday experience, maintaining this steady flame can be one of our greatest internal battles. At some point, everyone faces the tension between remaining attentive and mindfully aware, and the temptation to let distractions, emotions, or doubts dull their inner light. Perhaps you start your day determined, alert, focused, but soon find yourself swept up in the scroll of your phone, the spin of worries, or the pull of minor irritations. You mean to keep your center, but irritability, anxiety, or fatigue cloud your perception, leaving you reacting on autopilot or seeking escape in mindless routines. Over and over, it's easy to slip from disciplined vigilance into passive existence, and to become discouraged when it seems like careful attention just slips away. Even hard-won insights from reflection or observation lose their brightness, crowded out by the urgent demands and emotional turbulence that arise without warning. The pain here is both subtle and deeply familiar. The frustration of falling short of your own potential, the resignation that comes when growth feels fleeting or discipline too hard to sustain. Maybe you recognize a kind of mental laziness creeping into your day, a slow retreat away from self-mastery into an old reactive self. Even after so much time spent learning, reading, or intending to do better, the cycle feels unbroken. This is where many seekers pause, believing wisdom is a rare gift or something that only flickers in brief moments of inspiration before darkness returns. But in truth, wisdom is not a visitor that comes and goes. In the Stoic tradition, wisdom grows from the soil of consistent, awake attention, rooted in disciplined daily awareness that goes on in the background, no matter what happens on the surface. The solution is not some grand, singular effort, but a series of quiet, repeated choices that reaffirm your role as a mindful witness to your own life. Just as the archer rises daily to practice the same steady shot, or the ship's captain charts his course hour after hour with careful eyes on the horizon, so too must you nurture your disciplined awareness. It means showing up for yourself in small, deliberate ways. Returning your attention to the present when it starts to slip, taking a breath before old habits reappear, softly questioning your automatic responses before they harden into regret. This is not about harshness or perfection, but gentle persistence, the art of living intentionally, moment to moment. Benefits unfold slowly at first, like sunrise filtering into the dark edges of a room. Each act of disciplined awareness, each small, mindful pause, brings emotional mastery one step closer, making you harder to sway by moods or misfortune. Instead of reacting emotion for emotion's sake, you begin to see patterns as they form, to catch disruptions as they surface, and to act out of principle rather than unexamined feeling. This is the source of tranquility and true self-confidence. It is the secret magnetism others sense in those who stand calm amid chaos. Over time, disciplined awareness builds a quiet invincibility. The restless need to defend, prove, compare, or fear grows weaker, and a steady, gentle wisdom becomes your baseline rather than a fleeting exception. This ancient practice is alive and powerful, always close at hand. Living with disciplined awareness doesn't mean you ceaselessly control every moment. It means noticing when you drift, returning when you wander, and accepting each moment as a chance to begin anew. Each day is a new shot at the unseen target, a fresh voyage through shifting waters. The discipline of conscious attention, gently repeated, lays down the stepping stones to wisdom, a path anyone can walk, a fire anyone can tend, regardless of setbacks or imperfect days. Through this living, breathing presence, wisdom emerges, steady, enduring, and undefeated, no matter how dark the landscape may have once appeared. Begin by gently redirecting your attention to the present moment whenever you feel it drifting. Remind yourself that each return sharpens your awareness. With practice, you'll experience greater resilience, lasting calm, and growing self-trust. Let every day be a fresh start, knowing wisdom is built in these small acts. Continue this journey. You are unlocking your Stoic power. You've explored the timeless power of silence, observation, and reflection, uncovering how disciplined awareness leads to emotional mastery and true wisdom. Thank you for joining this journey toward a stronger, calmer self. If this video inspired you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. It helps our Stoic community grow.